Were you listening to the Gophers game on the radio, Jordan?
The last, minute of it.
Why would he, though?
Because I wanted to hear them lose to Georgia Southern, which they almost did.
They are up and coming. You just don't know it yet.
Dude, whoever does it on the fan, the radio announcing, he's talking, he's like, they got to be feeling good going into this bye week. He's like, no. They're 3-0. They almost lost all three games.
Yep.
Against shit-tier schools. They shouldn't feel good about themselves at all.
Hold on, SDSU?
Yeah.
They're good. Is it
They're still what, D2? No, that's NDSU. SDSU is the Jackrabbits.
The Jackrabbits, okay. Is Wisconsin off this week?
I don't think so.
You're supposed to be a fan, and you don't even know?
They shouldn't have a bye this early.
You are the Wisconsin fan.
I know last week they won 62-0.
Yeah, that was... There's a lot of exciting football last week.
Who'd they play? Inver Hills Community College?
Basically. No, they played Central Michigan last week.
Do they have a football team?
I don't think so.
Do they have any sports team? I seen the froth thingy. Froth that was near your house.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know Dakota County Technical College has a soccer and baseball team.
Really?
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of makes sense. Baseball, anyway.
Did they make it to the Little League World Championships
Probably
last
not.
year?
I don't think they qualify.
But as we speak...
Because they're a college.
What?
All right, sorry, in half an hour, the St. Paul Saints kick off Game 5 of the American Association Championship Series.
What's the spread?
I don't know.
What's the run line?
I couldn't tell you.
All I know is that they threatened if they lose, they're gonna kill the pig.
Oh.
Whatever. It's Denarius Pigborn or something like that. No, Pigarius or something. That's the pig's name.
Sure.
It's kind of cute, actually.
Yeah.
They always have a good name because they let the fans pick them.
It's hipster.
And have a vote.
Hipster.
I hate it. There's no room for it in baseball.
I didn't even know the St. Paul Saints had a championship. I thought you just play and then...
Yeah, they're in the American Association of Independent Professional Baseball.
What did you think they did? Just
play for fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're going to build this stadium for shits and giggles?
That was stupid.
Hey, it makes them a lot of money.
Brad worked out with one of them down at that hipster gym on Concord.
Okay.
And he said that dude was...
Oh, the one at Yorfit?
Yeah.
I think I know exactly what dude that is.
He said he was yoked to the gills, but came in and did 2 exercises and then left every day. So
yeah.
He's obviously on the old boop boop. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what dude that is.
Wait, you don't think they don't drug test for the St. Paul Saints?
I have no idea.
I'm going to go ahead and say they don't give a shit
All I know,
American Association of Independent Professional Baseball.
All I know is Brad said he came in and did some curls and sit-ups and he was yoked to the fucking gills.
Yeah, that dude was huge.
Wait, isn't that once you get big you can kind of just coast along like that?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say you need a little assistance.
Well, okay, do they not have a gym on site, you don't think?
I have no fucking idea about the interworkings of minor league baseball.
All I've heard is Bill Murray owns half of that team, right?
Part of it, yeah.
He owns part of every team in that league.
You think he'd be
including the Milwaukee Milkmen.
That's their team name? When I went and saw them this summer, I'm trying to think who they played. They the Road Rats or something like that.
Was it the Gary Saltside River Rats?
Yeah, I bet that's what it was. That is an awesome team, but they got smoked pretty bad.
And then there's the team in Texas that plays.
They come all the way up here to play?
Yeah. And they play as a different team half the season from a different city.
What are their teams?
I can't remember. One of them's the Armadillos, and the other one's the Rough Riders or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could even change
Listen,
your
that
name.
league is for fun.
Yeah.
It is. Their stadium's very scary because if you sit right in that one area, it looks like all the balls are going to hit you all the time.
Yeah, well, have they put the stupid-ass nets up yet?
No. Well, it doesn't go far enough.
I was at the Twins game on Thursday, and boy, Wednesday. And they ruined everything.
I know, the Nets go to the foul poles, basically.
It's awful. I had great seats right on the third baseline, right by home plate, and bam, there's a fucking net in your way.
Is it that distracting?
Hell yeah.
Is it?
It cuts, especially because my eyes don't work. So I'm looking at the gosh damn game, and then it's like pulling my focus away with the net. And all of a sudden, the players just look like blurry idiots out there.
Who are they playing? The Capitals?
The
Nationals.
Nationals.
Yeah, the hockey. The Washington Capitals.
That'd be amazing if a hockey team just marched out there.
Alexander Ovechkin just rolled out there with skates on, ready to hit some dingers.
He's talented. Yeah, it was the Nationals' first time in Target Field.
Really?
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. How does that even happen? I thought all the teams play each other.
Well, they're NL.
They're NL, baby.
I gotcha.
We play them rarely.
You guys excited for the upcoming hockey season?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah?
I think they kick off preseason, like, pretty soon.
Okay.
Coyotes and Golden Knights, I think, have the first game.
Yeah, because the actual season starts at the end of the month.
Correctamundo, my boy.
So, are you feeling good? Do you trust them?
I don't care. It's what I'll tell you what. I need to see something.
Okay. So you don't pay enough attention to
I
like
pay
roster
all of the attention,
Okay.
but there's been a little GM kerfuffle around the place.
Okay. All right.
So I can't tell you what they're gonna look like. Spurgeon just signed a giant contract extension, like $57 million over 7 years or something.
Who's the free agent they signed?
Fiala?
No.
Oh.
It was just like 2 months ago.
Did they get a new goalie?
Someone
yet?
wanted to get him, but they wouldn't give him a long enough of a contract. He wanted 5. They only offered him 3, so the Wild gave him 5. Can't remember where it was from.
No.
Don't they need a goalie?
They've always needed a goalie.
Nobody ever needs a goalie. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Bumblebee Podcast, only podcast on the internet that uploads weekly. Who knows what it'll be about? Certainly not me. My name is Adam. Sitting across from me, as ever, is Cody. How are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Adam?
Oh, awful.
Are ya?
I'm just tireder than a moaf.
I can tell by the frizzies in your hair right now.
Do I got some frizzies?
You got some frizzies.
Do I got some split ends going on?
I think you'd fit in real nice at a brewery with tin whiskers. You should go down there. Oh yeah. What do you think, George?
Is it because of my tiny mustache?
I was gonna say you kind of look like a Frenchman.
Yeah, my little tiny mustache and my little tiny beard.
You're like two Napoleons stacked on top of each other.
It's pretty good. I'm kind of a fan of it. I'm drinking a lot of weird coffees and eating a lot of weird baked goods these days.
All right, I can get down
there
with
ain't
that.
nothing wrong with that.
I'm living that bohemian lifestyle, son.
Do they like coffee?
I have no idea. Who, the French? Yes, it's like
no,
they're famous.
Bohemians.
Yeah, they do too.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, they're hipster trash, probably.
They're the original hipsters.
Yes, the new Bohemians.
We're going to go to the park and do mushrooms.
That's right.
Oh, God.
Sitting across from me and next to Cody is J-Dog Jordan. How are you?
I'm doing quite well.
How was your week?
Short.
Oh, yeah, you had 2 days off, you were telling me before
because
we
of
started.
the goddamn rain.
That's right. We got rained out around here.
I wish we could get rained out at work.
We did that one time when the power went away, and then they called everybody and said, come back to work, and I was like,
yeah. I thought you were going to say when the water main exploded.
And there was 2 trillion gallons of water going underneath the building as we speak.
That was like one of our first weeks there, and I remember... It was like one of the first rainfalls. I'm like, why is this lot this bad?
Yeah.
Where it's like 2 inches of water everywhere. And then we found out, obviously.
And then, like, the toilet started pissing rainwater and stuff. And it was like, all right, this is an issue.
And then 8 months later, it was fixed, I think.
Yeah, well, the ceiling still rains every time it rains, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's funny. They bought that brand new parking lot, and literally every single spot is taken.
Yep.
It's just absurd.
And flooded. Like, why is there no drainage in that lot?
I don't know. My shoes get wet every time it rains there. It's annoying as hell.
I can't put up with it anymore.
Oh, your shoes get wet at work sometimes?
Hey,
all the time.
Hey, how dare you, Jordan?
You got hard toes or whatever.
That's right. You got hard toes.
I've been wearing my sneakers. It's summer.
Oh.
I hope you get trench foot.
I hope you get gangrene, buddy.
God, you two are the best friends.
You're welcome.
Hey, you know what? Is everybody out of the way here?
Yep.
All right. Well, guess what? It was Granny's birthday. So happy birthday,
happy
Granny.
Happy birthday, Granny.
Good old Granny.
Hell yeah, Granny.
Good for you, kid. All right. Let's, Cody, take over, will you?
I will. All right, we're gonna jump into part 2 of Ed Gein. It's just gonna be a 2-parter. So
that's all it needs to be.
Yeah, you're gonna find out what he does. It's not like a other serial killers where it's like just a long journey. He's kind of a quick blip and then he's out of there. So
He's a great benchmark
He
of
is.
like everything.
well, I don't know. All of the fans of like extremely gruesome details, they're gonna really like this one. So.
Oh, that's good. I think we've been lacking these past few episodes.
This. I don't know. When I was going through this, I was like, okay, this is a lot more graphic than I remember from his story, but
Maybe our brains like buff out the rough edges or
Could
They
something.
probably do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everyone who does a true crime podcast starts to get really desensitized
Sure.
eventually.
And
It's
I just want him
natural.
to be a nice old grandpa man that likes nipples.
Like every good grandpa does. All right, so we're picking up right after Mary Hogan's disappearance, and basically the man had contacted the sheriff, and that's right where we're picking up.
Right. And they found blood on the floor and all that stuff, right?
Correct.
All right.
When Villas Waterman and Sheriff Harold S. Thompson arrived on scene to investigate, it didn't take them too long to figure out that there was foul play involved. Outside of just a bloodstain on the floor, there was also a spent .32 caliber cartridge nearby. Not only that, you could see the streaks of blood leading to the back door as if someone was dragging it out.
So we've done a few cases around this time frame. The .32 caliber used to be very popular. It seems.
Oh, yeah. That
think-
was
But
your
now-
go-to.
Yeah,
That's
but now
your
you can't
go-to.
even find a .32
Nobody
caliber.
uses 32 special anymore. 9mm. That's the way to go.
See, I always feel like during this time, or like a lot of true crime stories in the 60s, 70s, it's always a 22.
No.
A lot of people use 22s.
You know.
You'd have to
That's
use like
like a
20
mistake.
rounds to make someone feel anything.
It's like that's a step up from a BB gun. I'm not saying you can't kill people with a 22, kids. I'm saying that
Would you argue with Eileen Warnos about killing people with a 22?
certainly not. Certainly not. But I'm saying that I wouldn't do it. I'd use a man-killing round if I were to actually kill a man.
I'd use my dad's 30-30.
There you
What-
go.
what-
It's gonna get
Blow
the
a
job
fucking
done.
hole
Okay,
through 'em.
what did the son of Sam use? A 45?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
44.
44.
Oh.
That's a big bullet.
Yeah.
That'll do some damage. Anyway, so it was clear a sign that she had been murdered and her body was dragged outside and presumably loaded up into a vehicle because her body was nowhere to be found. They then called in the state crime lab out of Madison.
Oh, Jordan, you heard of that one?
I have.
Have you
yeah.
been there?
I think they're bringing out the cheese samples.
Oh.
What if they showed up with a cheese tray? That'd be amazing.
That
Like,
would be
listen,
the
we
best.
gotta keep ourselves nice and energized during this. Get blocked up so we don't take bathroom breaks.
Well, anyway, they investigated the scene. They combed through Mary's house. And in the end, they couldn't even turn up a single lead. Even with the speculation of her shady past, as we remember before, they had no reason they could connect the dots. And
They just couldn't see.
no, they couldn't be like, who would do this to
Yeah.
this lady? She
All
just
right.
worked at a bar, and that was it. Why would anybody want her dead? But she just vanished, so... And it would be several years yet before they would truly find out the truth of what happened to Mary Hogan. Now, a few days after Mary Hogan's disappearance, a man named Elmo Uke, a man who would occasionally hire Ed Gein to perform random jobs for him, remembers a very odd conversation he had had with Ed. Elmo had told Ed,
Eddie, if you had spent more time courting Mary, she'd be cooking for you instead of being missing.
so following that comment, Elmo said,
Eddie rolled his eyes and wiggled his nose like a dog sniffing a skunk. Then he smiled and said, She's not missing. She's down at the house right now.
Jesus. That is like the most Wisconsin statement. He was sniffling his dog, or he's sniffing a dog sniffing a skunk.
He wriggled his nose like a dog sniffing a skunk.
For most normal people, this statement may have been a little off-putting.
Sure.
But for most of the citizens of Plainfield, they understood Ed's dark and yet sometimes inappropriate sense of humor.
So they're just like, that's a weird thing to say, but
That's just Ed.
that's old Ed.
That's Ed. The funny part was, he even made comments like,
She's at the farm right now.
or,
I went and got her in my pickup truck and took her home.
I guess he's not lying, technically. And he would say that to several other neighbors. Outside of his odd sense of humor, most assume Ed was just a weak fool who couldn't even dream of committing the apparent perfect murder that had happened to Mary Hogan.
a perfect disappearance with not a single lead.
You know,
it's not Eddie.
It seems like a perfect murder, but I'm guessing the police in this town maybe aren't top notch in the 50s.
I don't know, man. I think Plainfield, Wisconsin in the 50s had pretty high standards.
Right.
They're probably like, can we find the most sober cop here, please?
Who's had less than 5 shots of whiskey in the last hour? That right here. All right, you're the new sheriff.
Now, not long after Mary Hogan's murder, there were other rumors that began to circulate throughout the gossip mill of Plainfield. And that was when some of the youngsters around town who had passed by Ed Gein's farm swore they could see shrunken heads through his windows.
Oh, come on. That's a lie.
A particular teenager named Bob Hill was one of those who had sworn they had seen the shrunken heads. Now, Bob was the closest thing to a friend Ed had in town. Bob and Ed would hunt rabbits together, go to movies together, and even attend high school baseball games together.
Wow.
Isn't that romantic?
You think they were betting?
How old was Ed at this time?
I think he was still in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
Okay.
his best friend's like a high school kid, basically.
Gotcha.
Bob also had been one of the only people to ever actually step foot inside of Ed's house. He claimed that on one visit, Ed actually pulled out the alleged human heads.
Oh.
Bob said they were creepy with leathery skin, matted hair, and hollowed eye sockets. When he asked where he'd gotten them from, Ed claimed that they were authentic South Seas shrunken heads his cousin had gotten for him from the Philippines during the war.
Oh.
I don't know if they would just let you get on a ship, come back after the war with like a bag of heads.
I mean, there's stories of people coming back with like full Japanese skeletons, so
Full skeletons.
yeah. So it's not
Okay. All right.
You might be able to,
Do they have to check them, or they just
I
like
don't
carry
know.
it? Like, do you have to buy another plane ticket to just like sit him in the seat next to him? It's like, no, he'll sit on my lap. The plane. Like, no, sir, you have to pay for 2 seats for your Japanese skeleton. I'm sorry. Policy is policy here.
Ugh.
There was also another young teenager who would go out to Ed's house with his younger 8-year-old brother and play cards with Ed sometimes.
Why is an 8-year-old playing cards?
You know why?
Because
No,
it's Wisconsin.
his older
I don't know. I don't know.
His older brother was playing cards with Ed. He was like, quote unquote, babysitting his 8-year-old brother who had to tag along with them.
I'm still going to go with the 8-year-old was playing cards,
Okay.
smoking cigarettes, and drinking brandy.
Yeah.
What's a popular card game in Wisconsin?
Go fish.
500.
500? Maybe that's what they were playing. Later, when the 8-year-old was older, he recalled a moment at Ed's house and said this.
Cards didn't fascinate me at this particular time, but Eddie had other things, like a tool that would punch holes in leather or paper. I'd spend my time doing that while my brother and Eddie played cards. One of these times, when we were over there, I ran out of paper and asked Eddie where I could get more. He told me to go in his bedroom. When I went around the corner, there were 3 heads hanging on that door. Just the heads, the faces were dried, and they had hair on them. Remember those African movies with the shrunken heads? That's what they look like. Not really shrunken. Have to say they were actual size of the head. But skin, hair, all that. I didn't say nothing. When we walked home, I asked my brother what the heads could be, and he told me they were probably Halloween get-ups. I was young enough that I believed it. I never asked Eddie about it, but from that particular time or shortly thereafter, Eddie no longer let my brother or me into his house.
So there's this 8-year-old literally just punching holes in paper.
That's what he's doing.
That's what I took out of that. Like, ooh, this is fun. Trunk, 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 trunk,
You
trunk,
never
trunk,
played
trunk,
with a
trunk, trunk,
3-hole
trunk.
punch when you were bored?
No.
I fucking played with a 3-hole punch.
I
all the
remember when the teacher would pull out a 3-hole punch. I thought it was like witchcraft. It's just like,
time. Hell yeah.
because you could put like 20 papers in there
Like
at
a
once.
full stack, and it's like a
Yeah.
perfect circle every time. It's wonderful.
They make homemade notebooks.
I'm into it.
I still think this kid was a bit of a simpleton.
Well, so am I.
Now, as to be expected, when the younger kids in town began telling everyone about the shrunken heads, the adults caught wind of it as well, but they just assumed kids were being kids.
Boys will
and
be boys.
Making shit up like they always do.
They're just over there hyped up on punch, using the 3-hole punch to punch that paper.
What would kids be drinking at this time? They didn't have Capri Suns.
They didn't
Probably
even have
Coca-Cola
Kool-Aid.
with cocaine.
Yeah.
Wait, they didn't remove it by then?
I have no idea, Cody. Anything pre-1980s is basically the same time frame to me.
I mean, I don't even know that it exists because I wasn't
like
there.
Leonardo da Vinci loved disco.
Did he?
Yeah, he was with Travolta hitting it up.
It's all the same.
Wait, did Travolta offer him a massage?
Yeah.
Probably.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Funny thing was, Ed perhaps was getting a little worried because he apparently approached his neighbors Donald and Georgia Foster and asked if they wanted to trade their house for his farm.
Wow.
Georgia would later say this.
Ed came around and wanted to know if we'd like to trade our house for his farm. We have only an acre or so of land here, and we thought the idea was worth considering. So we went out to look his place over. We looked into all the rooms except the front bedroom and one room right off of what I suppose was originally the dining room, but that Ed used for a bedroom and a living room. He had the door closed to that one room. He said it was just an old pantry and was filled with junk. We didn't see anything to make us suspicious. The place was awfully dirty and full of stuff piled all over the floor. It was pretty dark, too. He had those dirty old curtains at the window so we couldn't see much. The kids have always brought back stories about him having shrunken heads in there. So when we were upstairs in the house, I kidded Ed about it. I pointed to one of the bedrooms and I said, "Is that where you keep your shrunken heads?" He gave me a funny look. My husband looked at me too, and I wished I hadn't said it.
I've been there.
But then Ed gave me that little grin of his and pointed to another room. No, he said. They're in this other room over here. People were always kidding Ed about things like that.
He's quick on his feet, though.
He is.
He's like, no, the shrunken heads are in this room.
You stupid
And they
bitch.
probably were, actually.
See, this is hiding in plain sight. So, Adam, I could be like, you know what? All my shrunken heads are in that closet behind you, but you're not going to check because you assume I'm lying.
I just wouldn't care. I'd be like, hey, man, to each his own.
There's so many Japanese skeletons in that closet right now. You wouldn't believe it, Adam.
now those I want to see.
Just don't look for my yarmulke collection.
Jesus.
I don't know what that means.
But obviously, they did not end up trading houses. What if they did, like, wife swap with him?
I mean, did
The
he just not
t-shirt.
need the farm? Did he not want the farm?
Remember, he was basically just living at the house.
Yeah.
He let it get disheveled, and then he
Sure.
was renting the farmland out.
Well, it would have been smart.
Yep. Ironically, with all of these rumors swirling about, Ed's house began to gain the reputation from the kids around town that his house was the town's haunted house and should be avoided at all costs. Ed didn't help the case either because literally the only light that would be on at night was a single oil lamp gleaming through the molding curtains.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
That
That's not
is-
going to help.
That is very spooky.
Any shadow across the mold curtain is going to look like a ghost moving around up there.
Is there anything more disgusting than a molded curtain?
The idea of that is terrible.
Yeah.
That means there is like no basic level of care being done at all.
Well, when we're going to learn about his house later, I don't even know how, like, Georgia wasn't like, Jesus Christ, this is a fucking dump in here.
She was
There's
probably
shit
being
everywhere.
polite.
Yeah,
Probably
I
being
suppose.
polite, you know.
I suppose. One of the local neighbors, Roger Johnson, who would have to walk past Ed's house at night, said he would
Save all my energy up for that last 100 yards and then run like hell. It wasn't that I feared Eddie. I feared the house.
Can you imagine you're staring out your window and all of a sudden a kid runs full speed by you?
Dude, like the kid from It 1 when he has to go to that rundown
Oh,
house.
yeah. Ironically, the citizens of Plainfield, with all of the rumors about Ed and his home, would soon find out what horrors truly lie within the home of Ed Gein. Jumping to November 16th, 1957, the entire region of Wisconsin was gearing up for the deer hunting season,
Woo!
which seemed to be one of the most popular activities to do in rural Wisconsin, even though, at least around this time period, there was a lot of men who would constantly have hunting accidents and would end up shooting each other.
Hey, that's just the price of doing business, my friend.
Okay, were they all wasted, do you think?
Well,
Yeah, probably. This in the book, he gave like estimates for deer shot. I think within just this region, it was like 20,000.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That seems like a lot of deer.
No, like in Wisconsin, deer hunting is basically a holiday.
Deer hunting and drinking, right?
Yes.
Okay. Don't drink and hunt.
But no, like people I know and whatnot, like at their workplace in rural Wisconsin, like wherever it is, like they basically have to put in a year ahead of time to get deer opener off because everybody wants it off.
Wow.
And then a few people like will actually like try to pay someone who has it off to switch with them.
Smart. I would take it off and then just collect the earnings from it.
It's
Hell
good.
Yeah. Either way, we know Ed was not one to join the other men with deer hunting because it was too bloody for him.
Right.
Ed put his jacket and plaid deer hunter's cap on and headed for Bernice Ward's store in his maroon 49 Ford sedan to purchase some antifreeze. Now, Bernice was running the Warden Hardware and Implement store at this time, which apparently had been in business since the 1920s. Now, the neighbors claim that Bernice was rumored to be wealthy and was known to be a bit snippy and sharp-tongued. What does that mean to you, Adam?
I'll tell you what that means
sassy?
to me. Yeah, she's got a little toot on her. You know what I mean?
She was held in high regard in the community, and in July of 1957, she had been the first ever woman to be named Citizen of the Week in the Plainfield local newspaper.
Groundbreaker.
Hell yes.
First woman. That's wonderful.
I want to get as Citizen of the Week in the Plainfield local newspaper.
Let's go give her a shot, you know? Let's go make our case that Plainfield needs to hire us.
Okay, so we only got like 800 other people we have to worry about. So
we can do this today.
We can kill them all easily.
No.
Okay,
we can just be good, and we'll just go there and be like, hey, we have a podcast. Give us Citizen of the Week.
On top of that, she was the only female dealer of International Harvester products in the entire region.
Hell yeah.
Wheeling and dealing here.
Can't go wrong with an international.
Like the Midwest, people had to go through her to get... Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, this region of Wisconsin, not all of it.
Gotcha.
Bernice, at the time, was 58 years old, a devout Methodist, a businesswoman, and a good mother. I could only imagine she would remind Ed of someone who is very important to him.
Augusta.
Correct. Either way, because all of the other men were out hunting, when Ed entered the store this particular day, it was only him and Bernice. Now, Bernice wouldn't have been shocked to see Ed because earlier in the week he had mentioned that he was going to stop by and purchase some antifreeze.
Hell yeah, and put his dipstick in there if she's all alone.
On top of that, Ed was known for being a very good, very loyal customer to the store. In fact, because Bernice was a recent widow, Ed previously had actually invited her to go out and try the new roller skating rink with him. But she turned him down.
She said, no.
Should a 58-year-old woman be roller skating?
Yes. Okay. Keep them healthy. Keep them active. They can live for a long time.
Did you guys ever go to a roller rink?
Yep, I've had birthday parties at one.
What's the one song they always play for like the couples to hold hands and do
Never been inside of one.
No idea.
Never been inside of one in my life.
I wish I could remember.
Was it Kiss of a Rose by Seal?
No, this is back in like the
Endless
90s,
Love?
buddy. This is the 90s. So I think it was like, I almost think it might have been an R. Kelly song, but it could be wrong.
Love hurts.
No, I think something about the eagle wings or something. I don't know.
Was it Space Jam song?
Yeah, I bet it was.
You're an idiot.
I bet it was.
What is Space Jam song?
Fuck, I can't remember.
Come on, idiots. You gotta think about this.
You're right, though. It's that song.
What's the Space Jam song?
Someone will message us
No,
about
this
it.
isn't. We're not moving on until this is figured out. I'm not hitting the pause one. You're going to have to edit this creatively.
Okay.
But we got to find the fucking...
Google it, Jordan. I have no
I'm
fucking...
working
I
on
have it in my head, but I can't think of it.
Fly like an eagle. Nope, that's Lenny.
No.
That's Lenny Kravitz, I believe.
Did you have to say it like that?
Let's see. What is the fucking song? Jordan, hurry.
For You I Will.
No, idiot. The Space Jam R. Kelly song.
What? I just searched Space Jam slow
I
song.
wanna fly like an eagle.
Into the future.
Oh, I Believe I Can Fly by R.
yeah.
Kelly.
I can
I bet that's it.
There you go, buddy. Thank you.
Are you gonna?
We can't play it. We can't get it cleared.
No,
we can't get clearance for that.
He's already. He needs money, so he'll be after anybody who he can get it from.
All right. Continue, my boy.
So anyway, Ed purchased the antifreeze. Bernice wrote him up a receipt, and Ed headed out the front door. Then a few moments later, Ed re-entered.
What'd you forget, you dummy? That's probably what she thought.
He told Bernice he was looking to trade his Marlin rifle, which only fired 22 shorts, for one that could fire all three versions, 22 short, long, and long rifle. So Bernice handed him another Marlin rifle that could do just that, and said,
"It's my favorite type of rifle."
Ed then began to examine the rifle, and Bernice walked to the front window and looked outside. She took notice of her son-in-law's new red Chevy and said aloud,
"I see Bud has a new car. I do not like Chevrolet."
I think that's her snappy tongue right there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. She has a rapist wit. A rapier wit. She has a rapey wit.
While Bernice was turned, Ed reached into his overall pocket and pulled out a .22 shell and placed it into the gun he was looking at, and he shot her in the head.
What?
Oh,
Not
that's bold.
That's fucked.
Yeah, we'll learn about it later. Not long after, a Bernard Maszynski Sr., I'm pretty sure that's how you say his
that'll
Polish
be
name.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mashinsky.
It's passable.
I'm sure that's not how it was spelled when he got to Ellis Island.
Maszynski?
I'm pretty
That's
sure
not
it was.
an authentic Polish last
No, I'm
name.
sure there was more Z's and C's and K's in there and
Weird little V's over
Not-
consonants.
shit. That seems way too convenient. Mashinsky.
And he's a senior.
Yeah.
So Bernard was pumping gas across the street at the Phillips 66 station. Remember those?
66. There's still one in South St. Paul.
Oh,
Full
is there
service.
really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, okay. When he took notice of the hardware store's panel truck backing out of the garage and heading east, Bernard at the time didn't think too much of it because they would often hire outside help to do deliveries for them. Secondly, because the entire town was a bit slow for deer hunting, maybe Bernice just decided to close the store early. Mm-hmm. But there was one thing that he remembers being a bit strange, especially for Bernice. The lights in the store were left on. Bernice, she don't do that.
No, she's way more. This is her store. This is her bread and butter. She's not leaving the lights on.
The citizen of the week does not leave the lights on.
No, that invites crime. I'm sorry.
That same day, and presumably not long after Ed had murdered Bernice, Elmo Uke would witness
God damn it.
would witness Ed acting a little strange. Now, Elmo was a little bit of a dick himself.
Tickle me.
What did he do?
Ed had always told people that he did not want them hunting on his land. Of course, Elmo believed he could kill a deer on Ed's land without him even noticing, and that is exactly what he did.
Sure.
On Elmo's way back to town, Ed just so happened to be heading the opposite direction and would clearly notice the deer antler sticking out of Elmo's truck. Now, Elmo said Ed was traveling at a high rate of speed, which was odd because Ed usually drove so slow you could probably run faster to wherever you wanted to head.
Right. He was a cautious idiot
He was
most
just,
of the time, yeah.
It reminds me of back home in Iowa, where like old people will literally just go check out the fields.
Oh, yeah.
And they
the
drive,
slack jaws just
yeah.
driving around, yeah.
Ooh, look at them crops over there.
Ooh, that
slow her down.
alfalfa's coming in nice.
Slow her down, Betty. I can't see my crops.
Yeah. How do I know if the weevil's got to him?
So Elmo's conscience got to him. He figured he better get ahead of the problem and go explain to Ed why he needed to hunt on his land.
No, fuck off. You're just a dickhead poacher.
How would Ed even know he hunted on his land
He
if
was
they're
driving
on the road?
off of his land
Yeah.
with
Oh.
the deer sticking out the back of his truck, Jordan.
Sorry, I missed that detail.
That's all right. I'm not actually angry about it. I've been watching a lot of
I thought he was just driving down the road.
Ed had the Ford jacked up and was switching tires, which generally isn't too weird, but he was swapping his snow tires to regular tires, which for November in Wisconsin is very, very strange because winter is literally just starting.
That's backwards, Eddie.
Yeah.
But Elmo really didn't think too much of it because Ed was always doing weird shit like that.
Like a meth head.
He kind of does act like that,
Yeah,
doesn't
he seems a little skittery, like a methy boy.
So Elmo apologized, but Ed seemed very preoccupied and didn't even seem to really care. A couple hours later, after Elmo departed, Bob Hill and his sister Darlene
God damn it.
showed up at Ed's house. Ed was inside at the time and quickly came running outside to talk to the Hills. They explained that their car wouldn't start and asked if Ed would run them into town to get a new battery. Ed said,
Sure, just let me wash up.
Ed's hands were covered in blood, and he quickly told them that he had been dressing a deer.
Well, it did just open, right?
Right? Now, Bob didn't think too much of it because he had went hunting small game with Ed several times before, and at the time wasn't aware that Ed claimed to feel squeamish around blood and didn't hunt deer.
You know what? It's still a fine cover for right now.
It is.
Yep.
It is. After they returned from getting the battery and Ed helped them install it, they offered Ed a good supper consisting of pork chops, boiled potatoes, macaroni and cheese, pickles, coffee, and cookies. Ed had had a very busy, exciting day, so he was hungry and wouldn't turn down a free meal.
Are you kidding me? Somebody showed up with that kind of shit, I would lick you clean.
Okay, isn't that a joke that, like, poor people eat boiled potatoes? Wasn't that like an anti-Irish thing?
Maybe.
Was
but I'm not worried about it.
No, they're
I'm
still good.
a big fan of mashed potatoes. You got to boil them, right?
Well, yeah, you boil them and smash them.
It's just I'll eat any kind of potato for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, returning to the hardware store, around 5 p.m., Bernice's son, Frank, had just returned home after failing to snag a whitetail.
You failure, Frank. Now your mom's dead because you didn't shoot a deer.
Now, before Frank would enter the store, he spoke to Mazinski, who informed him that he had witnessed the panel truck take off earlier in the day and that it appeared his mother had closed the store. Frank panicked and quickly ran home, got a key, and then opened up the front door, only to see something was awry. He noticed that the cash register was missing, and there were patches of reddish-brown stains that were leading to the back door. And when he went outside, he confirmed that the panel truck was still missing, so Frank quickly contacted Sheriff Art Chalet. I think it's Chalet.
I'm gonna
We'll go with Chalet. I'm into it.
When Art arrived on the scene, Frank Warden immediately started telling the police that he believed Eddie Gein had done something to his mother. The cop asked him why. Frank told him,
He's been hanging around her a lot lately. Bother my mother to go roller skating and dancing and movie shows.
"My mother will not go roller skating."
It's the devil's work.
Very forward of you, Eddie.
You don't just ask a girl to roller skate. Come
That's a
on.
fucking.
That's
That's
like
like going steady almost.
That's like a second, third date thing,
Yeah.
not the first date.
Yeah.
Exactly.
First
Might
date,
as well-
you go to church.
Hey, you might as well ask him to fucking move in with you.
Yeah. Ed has to be my stepdad.
Yeah.
He also then showed the police the slip he had found. It was a sales receipt handwritten by his mother for antifreeze purchased by Ed Gein.
Ed, don't take the receipt.
He was too excited. He just left it there. So they quickly decided maybe we should locate and have a conversation with Ed.
You think?
In the meantime, they had called in sheriffs, former sheriffs, deputy sheriffs, town marshals, traffic officers, state crime investigators,
State crap lime investigators.
state crime lab investigators, and more.
I like the crab limes.
They called in
They
a whole
walk
bunch
in
of...
just clacking their pincers.
What if that's like how they come and investigate? They just walk sideways. Just ding, ding,
Oh,
ding,
don't
ding.
horrify me, please. I do not like sideways walking.
Just a bunch of
bastards.
Zoidbergs invading Wisconsin.
Is that your biggest fear, sideway walkers?
I don't like spiders, and crabs
okay.
are like sea spiders, but I do find them delicious.
Yeah, I was gonna say they taste a little better than spiders. I can tell
How
you.
many
I don't know.
spiders? You've eaten spiders?
Yeah, I actually ate the one when I was trying to fuck with Adam.
Oh, yes, he did suck that thing into his mouth when he was like, "This is my buddy Henry," and he was like, "Watch." And then he sucked it in his fucking mouth on accident.
Not a lot of flavor on that one.
No.
So it didn't take too long for the hardware store to be surrounded with police officers.
Sure.
But
Well,
what-
he called all of them, so.
But where was Ed? What was Ed up to at this time? Well, he had just finished his supper with the Hills and was playing with the children on the couch. Then all of a sudden, Irene Hill's son-in-law, Jim Vroman?
Yep.
He's got a weird name.
Yeah.
These fucking Wisconsins. Burst through the front door talking about the disappearance of Bernice Warden and all the action that was going on down at the hardware store.
You gotta get in on this
I-
hardware store action, guys.
Dude.
This is Plainfield, Wisconsin.
Dude, I can tell you, growing up in a small town, when you see like cops go by or something, people literally get in their cars to
Hell
go see
yeah.
what they're doing.
Hell
So
yeah.
I do that here in the city.
That's
Really?
sad.
yeah,
I'm a Snoopy boy.
I
I
don't
just
like
like-
the police.
I'm just like, quit with the sirens and go
Yes.
away, please.
Yes.
I'm tired of your sirens. Irene then looked at Ed and remembered how he was at their house after the disappearance of Mary Hogan and said,
Ed, how come every time somebody gets banged on the head and hauled away, you're always around?
Ed then just looked at her and he shrugged.
Dude, could tell you.
Young Bob Hill wanted to go down and check out the action that was going on and asked if Ed wanted to go with him. And Ed agreed.
Fool.
So Ed and Bob loaded in the car preparing to go when Irene received a call from the police. See, the police had actually made their way out to Ed's farm first and realized he wasn't there. And then figured he was at the Hills house because he always was.
They made him pork chops and mashed potatoes. And
You're
shit.
not going to turn... Well, I'm not that big of a fan of pork chops, to be honest.
I don't like pork that much at all.
But if it's free, I'll eat it.
Absolutely.
So they asked Irene if she knew where Ed was. She said,
He's sitting in his car right there in my driveway, unless he's taking off. He's driving my son downtown to see what all the hubbub's about.
that's probably what she actually said.
Yeah.
Around the same time, two officers were converging on the house and found Ed sitting in the car. They approached the vehicle, then tapped on the window, and Eddie rolled it down. They said,
Eddie, we'd like to talk to you.
Eddie agreed and got out of the vehicle. So the officer questioned Ed about his whereabouts from the day, and Ed gave him the rundown. So then the officer asked Ed to just give him another quick rundown, and this time Ed changed his story slightly.
See, the classic
Don't do that.
The classic police trick of getting you to say the wrong thing a bunch of times different.
The officer then said,
Now, Eddie, you didn't tell the same story come through there the second time.
Somebody framed me.
Framed you for what?
Well, Miss Warden.
What about Mrs. Warden?
Well, she's dead, ain't she?
Dead? How do you know she's dead?
Well, I heard it.
Where'd you hear it?
I heard them talking about it.
that's such like a Midwestern thing. Well, I heard it.
Well, I heard it.
Obviously,
Something you would say.
I would definitely say that.
I seen it.
Obviously, this was quite damning for Ed, and he would be arrested, but as a potential robbery suspect.
Ah.
Around the same time Ed was being arrested, Sheriff Art Chalet was making his way to investigate Ed's house. Now, as you could probably imagine, outside of what they were about to find inside, Ed's house was very spooky just from the outside, and it was also nighttime to add another layer of tension. When Art made his way inside with his flashlight, He first took notice of all of the junk laying all over the floor. Then Art felt his jacket brush up against something, and when he turned his flashlight to see what it was, he was absolutely shocked by what he had saw. It was a human carcass that was hanging by its feet from the ceiling. Its head had been removed and completely split open as if a butcher was cutting open an animal. They knew this was Bernice Warden.
Jesus.
It's brutal. That's fucking brutal.
You can look up these pictures if you want. It's pretty bad. Art was in such shock at what he was looking at, he ran outside and started vomiting. Obviously, this was enough for them to radio for backup.
I hope so.
I think we might need backup here, fellas. But they would have no idea what other horrors lie within the house. When they finally continued their search, they took notice of all of the tin cans, bottles, tools, newspapers, magazines, food scraps, rags, and all other trash that was all over the place in Ed's house. It was really hard to believe that anyone could live within this mess. But as we know today, if you ever watch Hoarders, I imagine that's what it's looked like.
It's got to be about the same, roughly the same.
The grossest is when they have like the toilet.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it. The toilet that's like stacked up with poop and toilet paper.
And they're like pooping in a bucket.
Yeah, they got like side poop mountains. It's not good.
They then discovered a coffee can stuffed with old chewing gum and a set of yellow dentures sitting on a shelf.
Ew.
When they took a closer look at his kitchen table, they noticed an odd-looking bowl. When they lifted it up, they noticed it was actually a skull cap from a human head.
Was he having Lucky Charms out of it, or what?
Were they around this?
I don't know.
I'm sure Wheaties were. I wonder what other cereals were.
Irish racism, that fits, like, what are we, in the 60s, right? 50s?
They would also find several other skull caps littered throughout his home, and full skulls as well, including 2 skulls that were on Ed's bedpost that he used for decoration. Another police officer took notice of a chair within the kitchen that looked just a little different than the rest. They soon discovered that the seat had been replaced by smooth strips of human skin. Ugh. And when you look from the underside, you could see it was lumpy with fat.
So he didn't, like, render them right or anything?
No, he just, like... Ugh. Eventually, they would find 4 of these human skin chairs. They soon found there were several items crafted from human skin, including lampshades, bracelets, a wastebasket, a tom-tom, and
oh my god, he made a GPS out of humans. He could have been a fucking millionaire.
Maybe they stole the idea from him.
I think so.
And the sheath for a hunting knife. They also found his belt fashioned out of female nipples and a shade pole decorated with a pair of woman's lips. You can see the nipple belt. That's pretty famous, too.
I've even seen that.
Yeah.
A crime scene investigator would then stumble upon an old shoebox with a considerable collection of female genitalia.
Oh, that's so gross.
Just in a box?
You just put them in a box.
They decompose.
He's got a box of pussy, man. He's got a fucking pussy box.
That's so fucked up.
Happy birthday, Granny.
The original fleshlight.
He had 9 vulvas altogether. 1 had been painted silver with a red ribbon attached. And another one was very freshly collected.
Ew.
I think that was Bernice's.
You think, Cody?
Ew, that's so gross.
It's very gross. Another box contained 4 human noses, and there was a cardboard Quaker Oats container filled with pieces of human head skin. Oof. They found a few items they believed Ed would actually have attempted to wear, such as leggings made from actual human leg skin, a garment fashioned from the upper torso of a middle-aged woman. Then perhaps the most terrifying item they would find were the human skin masks.
Yeah, that's so gross. That's so gross.
It is. There were 9 in total that had been carefully removed from human heads.
I just want to know, with the upper torso of a middle-aged woman, would he, like, put that on and just walk around the house and be like, I'm a pretty lady, look at my boobies?
Actually, he did, Jordan.
Oh.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about that later.
He
but
did all that.
Like, I couldn't remember that he actually did, like, the full Buffalo Bill thing.
Yeah.
He literally did
He made the suit.
Yeah. Some were preserved and coated in an oil to keep them smooth. They were all hanging in Ed's bedroom on the wall almost as if they were his trophies. These were in fact those shrunken heads that the kids were seeing through the windows of Ed's house. It was while examining one of these human skin masks that an officer recognized the face of Mary Hogan.
No, from
Yeah.
the mask?
Yeah,
Shut the fuck up.
That's what he said. He could tell it was her. So her disappearance had finally been solved. As the search of Ed's house continued, they just kept finding more and more body parts and really had no idea how many victims Ed had taken them from. You're probably wondering what Ed had done with Bernice Warden's head.
Can you tell me?
Well, eventually they would find it placed in a burlap sack tucked in between a mattress in the shed. Ed had actually placed 2 bent nails through her ears, almost as if he was going to mount it on a wall somewhere in his house.
So this is one he definitely killed.
Yeah, Bernice.
this is
Oh,
Bernice,
yeah. This is the last victim. They found her receipt and they followed it was him. Amongst all of the gruesome findings the police would locate, there was one thing that was really puzzling, and that was the single boarded up room in Ed's house. Initially, they expected that they were about to stumble upon things even worse than they had already found, but when they removed the boards and opened the door, there was nothing but a perfectly kept room. Everything was kept in order. Even the clothes were folded inside of the dresser. This was, of course, Augusta Gein's room.
This is mommy's room.
Seemingly, Ed had kept his mother's room just like she would have left it. For what reason, we're not really sure.
Yeah, we are. Because he wanted to climb back in her womb.
Is that what he said? I don't think that's what he said.
No, but it's obvious.
Yeah, okay.
It's
I know
obvious.
he wanted to preserve her, but like, I don't know. It's weird.
He was so in love with her.
Well,
he
we
wanted
know
to
that.
preserve her memory and
I
keep
don't-
her alive in his head by
Yeah.
keeping her fucking room
That's a good
in the
point.
order.
That's a good point.
It's like parents when they lose their kids and they keep their kids' room exactly like it was
Yeah.
when they died.
I've totally forgot about all that.
Of course, bro.
Yeah, okay.
It's like the show Amy and
What?
I started watching last night. It's got that in it.
It's people that can't move on. A tragedy happens to them and they can't just like either put it out of their mind until it's done, or they can't just move on from it.
You're very right.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Adam. Now, after 6 hours of investigating Ed's house, the sheriff returned to the station to see if Ed had confessed to anything yet, which he hadn't. This infuriated the sheriff so much, he actually tried to physically intimidate Ed and had to be restrained. Ed would remain silent for 36 hours before he would actually admit to murdering Bernice Warden. Ed did admit he killed Bernice, but claimed he couldn't remember any of the details because he was in, quote, a daze.
He was in a fugue state, like from Breaking Bad.
I don't remember that.
When Walter White, remember he did all that rancid shit, and then he got naked and went to the store. And he was like, I'm in a fugue state. No.
But wait. That was he could say that because he had cancer.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an excuse,
Yeah.
right?
Ed's just nuts.
Basically, what I compared it to was, if you guys remember, Ted Bundy always said the entity took
Right.
over him.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call that? Where you're like, you kind of become somebody else when you're doing bad shit.
Demonic possession.
Yeah, close enough. I don't know. It's basically like your brain shuts off and you do it and then whatever. He basically said that he remembers getting the antifreeze from Bernice and then essentially blacking out of what happened afterwards. They then asked Ed where all the body parts had came from. Well, Ed said that was from good old-fashioned grave robbing.
Sure.
Ed claims that over a 5-year period starting in 1947, at night, he would visit cemeteries in the area. He estimated this could be around 40 different visits, but most of the time he would go out to the cemetery, sit there for a bit, and then just return home.
Okay. Like getting up the gall,
Yeah.
and then most of the time he wouldn't have it in him.
Yeah, he'd just sit there and be like, I can't do this, man. I can't do this.
Yeah.
But at least 9 times he had actually dug up the graves. He would dig them up, open the casket, and take what he was looking for from the bodies. A few of the graves that he had dug up were from people that he had actually known when they were still alive. But again, Ed describes the, quote, daze he was in while he was grave robbing. So I don't know. Apparently, he claims he goes in this daze and then does shit, I guess,
It's like a
we
compulsion.
said. Yeah. After the interrogation, they would take Ed out to his farm, and he would show them where he had taken Bernice Warden's blood, which he had poured out behind his outhouse.
Ah, that's so gross. The idea of just like a couple buckets of blood.
Then Ed was returned to jail and initially being charged with just armed robbery, and the first-degree murder charge would come later.
Sure.
Ironically, they would set his bail at $10,000 after this arrest. So if he had it, he could have just gotten out.
Oh, he could have just bailed out?
Yeah, because they hadn't officially charged him with first degree yet, so they set the bail.
I think all he needed was 1,000 too, right? Isn't it all he needs 10%?
Well, that's for bond.
Right.
No, I think your bail, you only have to pay 10% of it. I'm pretty sure.
No, that's to get a bond. Like, if you go to a bondsman, you pay them, like, 10% of it, and then they front the rest to get out.
I think a bondsman gives you a loan, right?
Yeah, but that's on the condition, like, if you use a bondsman, that's only, like, a temporary get out. Like, you still have to go to court if you pay the full bail.
Have you been taken down by Dog the Bounty Hunter? Is that why you know all this?
No.
Yes, he has.
Dog's daughter.
We know that he's a scumbag. We know this. No, he's not a scumbag.
Once the crime lab was finished collecting...
The who?
Crab lab.
The crab limes?
The crime lab was finished collecting all of the evidence from Ed Gein's house. It took the men 32 trips in and out just to load everything into their truck. Mind you, they did this with the media sitting outside watching them load the items the entire time, but obviously they couldn't see what was inside what they were carrying.
Sure.
But it didn't take long for the news to break, and after this, it basically opened the floodgates for the media to post headlines such as Death Farm, or, what you probably heard of...
Farm.
I kind of like that. It's kind of metal, actually. Or what you guys have probably always heard, the Mad Butcher of Plainfield.
Yep.
And then, obviously, with that, the headlines would begin to speculate about Ed's cannibalism, but as far as we know, he's never done it. I don't know. Do you think he did?
No.
No, I don't think he did.
I don't think he was hungry for it.
No.
He just wanted some snazzy outfits.
And chairs. Yeah. He wanted unique pieces for his home.
Vintage pieces, man. Mm-hmm. You can't buy this shit nowhere,
Certainly
dude.
not. This is Mrs. Keller's face right here.
Once they had most of the evidence collected, they would interrogate Ed for more information. The odd thing was, Ed was very skittish about talking about his murders. In fact, initially, Ed was denying the murder of Mary Hogan, even though they literally found her face in his bedroom. But after not too long...
It's pretty good evidence. It's pretty good evidence.
But he would eventually confess to that after not too long. In fact, he later told the police that after he had collected what he wanted from Mary Hogan, he would then dispose of her body by burning it piece by piece in his potbelly stove. So that's how he got rid of her.
God damn.
That is fucked up.
Ugh.
Ed, though, didn't seem to have a problem talking about some of his perversions. Take this list of questions, for example.
Do you have any recollection, Eddie, of taking any of those female parts, the vagina specifically, and holding it over your penis to cover the penis?
I believe that's true.
Do you recall doing that with the vaginas of the bodies of other women?
That I believe I do remember. That's right.
Would you ever put on a pair of women's panties over your body and then put some of these vaginas over your penis?
That could be.
Ooh, that's a crazy Halloween costume right there.
That's a crazy exchange of words is what that was.
How do you even ask somebody those questions with a straight face?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know.
If I went up to a stranger like, have you ever taken a vagina and put it over your penis?
We would get stabbed.
Probably.
Because I would stab someone if they asked me that.
Ed would also give them details about how he would break into the graves, how he would remove the heads from the bodies, how he would sometimes wear the skin mask he had in his room, also how he would really wear the skin leggings he made and the upper torso with the breasts attached he had fashioned into a vest. As far as those skull caps, while Ed would admit to using them, he claimed he read about old Norwegian style of drinking mead from skull caps.
That's some pagan shit right there, baby.
So
that's some Viking shit.
Ed loves himself some mead.
Woo!
Okay, guys. The guy on Instagram, I can't remember his little handle, but he's selling skull caps. You can buy $200 so you can get a nice drinking mug.
It's so yucky.
You don't want to be like an old Norwegian?
Are you kidding me? I hate skeletons. I hate bones. I don't want to drink out of them.
I wish I was rich so I could just keep mailing you bones.
That's so fucked up.
What? If you've got tags for it, you can mail bones.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want if you got money.
When they asked Ed if there had been any sort of necrophilia performed on the bodies he had dug up, Ed said that was never a thought in his mind because...
They smelled so bad.
We will never truly know what Ed would do with corpses once he was alone in his house, but my estimation is because he was openly admitting to everything else, why would he hide the necrophilia?
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Once Ed was finally being charged with the first-degree murder, his attorney informed them that he was going to plead not guilty by reason of insanity, and
Smart.
Ed would agree. After not too long, Ed would be taken to the Central State Hospital for the criminally insane to undergo a full battery of psychiatric tests to determine Ed's legal sanity.
Now, Ed, when you're asleep at night, do you ever wake up to nightmares of crab limes?
Them damn crab people keep invading my house.
Do disconnected vulvas ever speak to you and climb on your penis?
Who I forgot to mention, he I'm sure you probably heard it before. He put salt on him and stuff to try to cure him and whatnot.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was trying to cure him some Vagios.
Jesus.
Have some nice pussy jerky.
Part of a balanced breakfast, Vagios.
Oh.
You know, if you ever get lonely, you just throw them in some boiling water and they're ready to go.
Fuck.
Is that how you revitalize beef jerky, Jordan?
Yes.
Just boil it?
Yeah. And pussy.
Around the same time, Ed's lawyer had actually had an article posted in the Madison newspaper titled, Gein diagnoses his own case, blames dog.
Oh.
Did he just fart the entire time? Is that what the days was?
Boo.
What?
Blame it on the dog, Cody. Idiot.
Okay, alright. According to his lawyer, he had his own amateur test of Ed and concluded that Ed was blaming the woman who was at the Smith's house that had made his mother so upset and caused her second stroke.
Oh.
And after Ed's mom died, he was feeling such extreme loneliness that it would lead to his grave digging and then later murder. So this is what his lawyer's telling the paper to publish, basically.
Right.
But I think it's best to leave it to the professionals.
Me too. Not the goddamn ambulance chasers.
No.
It's not happening.
Actually, it sounded like Ed actually had some money, so he hired a good lawyer.
Oh.
So I don't know where he was getting money from, but apparently
He was just
has
saving
some
up
money.
all that
Yeah.
land rental
Probably
money.
Mesh, Besher, and Spence.
Ooh.
You know?
Chris Lindahl.
Yeah.
Not a lawyer, but okay.
Okay, I seen him on a bus today.
Yep.
I seen the fucking airplane flying around with his
seen that too.
banner. This dude is a fucking tyrant.
Oh, dude, he did a fucking interview with City Pages. His monthly advertising budget is, he just said, the upper six figures.
Goddamn.
Quit buying houses from him, please. So, after all of the tests were finally completed, they found out his verbal IQ was 106,
He's a genius.
his performance IQ was 89,
Brilliant.
and his full-scale IQ was 99, a score that was considered to be below average. Have you guys ever wanted to take an IQ test to see?
I do want to take, a real IQ test.
Do you think you'd break the 3 digits, Jordan?
I fucking hope so.
What if Jordan was
But I'm not
actually
holding out high hopes.
What if Jordan was actually 160 and Adam and I were fucking 67?
I'm 14.
I would never let you hear the end of it.
It wouldn't matter. I wouldn't remember. I'm too stupid.
Apparently, the physician was also a little perplexed by Ed's constant psychosomatic complaints of headaches and nausea. Often, during his examinations, he would begin to whine like a sickly old woman and insist that his head hurt or that he was feeling sick to his stomach and needed a wheelchair to take him back to his ward.
It's probably because the hospital's too clean of an environment and he's used to living in a fucking pigsty.
Good
Shit
call.
swaller.
Good call. He also complained about smelling weird things constantly. When asked what the smell was, he said he would smell flesh. They don't really know why he was doing
Weird.
this. Yeah, I didn't include it in here, but his physical examination, perfectly healthy. Nothing
They didn't
wrong
find
with him.
anything that would make him smell flesh all the time?
No cancer, no nothing. So.
Okay.
In the end, Dr. Ellsworth concluded the patient was
a very suggestible person who appears emotionally dull. Beneath that lies aggressiveness that may be expressed by inappropriate reactions that are followed by remorse and mild-manneredness. He is an immature person who withdraws and finds forming relationships with others difficult. He has rather rigid moral concepts which he expects others to follow. He is suspicious of others and tends to project blame for his own inadequacies onto others. His fantasy life is immature in nature. Possibly he pictures himself as a much more adequate and bigger man than he is. Sexually, he is a conflicted individual and is functioning on an immature level. Guilt feelings are great, and repression is put to use quite frequently in this area. In general, it appears that this is basically a schizophrenic personality with several neurotic manifestations. At the present time, he is confused and has difficulty in looking at his situation realistically.
okay,
So he's still a child.
basically, and I was thinking about this, how did nobody in town notice him, kind of switching back and forth between two people? You know what I'm saying?
Because he was just weird old Ed.
Yeah. I guess he's staying in his house all day. He probably only came out when he was, normal or whatever.
Nobody came to visit him except the Hills, right? And that's the only people he would let over, right?
Old Bobby Hill. Hank would be disappointed.
Tell your daddy to get me some propane. Another interesting thing from Ed's examinations was about his sexual history. He believed strongly in waiting until marriage to have sex, obviously being burned in his mind from his mother.
Sure.
But claimed she deemed masturbation as an acceptable practice, which was a bit odd, I thought. While his mother was still alive, apparently Ed did have a girlfriend, but claimed that he had to let her go because she couldn't get along with her own mother. And another girl he fell in love with didn't save herself till marriage.
That's strumpet.
Yeah, he had to get rid of her. The following paragraph from his report I personally find very interesting and seems to shed a little more light on the fact that Ed's mind seems to be constantly scrambled by what caused him to become a grave robber and murderer.
He rather vehemently stated that none of this would have happened if his neighbors had shown some interest in him and would have visited him.
Wow.
He stated that the only time the neighbors came to his home was when they wanted to borrow things. He complained about the neighbors playing dirty deals. He applied this phrase to business dealings that he had had with one particular neighbor who had rented a field from him some years ago for $10 a year.
Damn.
That seems like a fucking bargain.
That is cheap as fuck.
This neighbor paid the rent for the first year, but neglected to pay the rent for subsequent
What a scumbag.
years. He claims that about 5 of his neighbors were constantly taking advantage of him, and that they all owed him money. He denied that he had any difficulty with the people of Plainfield, although he said that many of them didn't appreciate the things that he did for them.
Sure.
Isn't he complaining literally like Hank Hill right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't people borrow his shit all the time,
Yes.
never return him?
Or thank him or anything.
So yeah, he goes from his mother to he's mad at the neighbors. He's just blaming everybody. It's really strange. Ed would spend a grand total of 30 days at the state hospital, and on December 22nd, 1957, the doctors would give their findings to Judge Herbert A. Bundy and recommended that Ed be committed to the Central State Hospital as insane. Now, Ed would still have to go back to court for his trials in regards to his legal sanity. Funny thing that happened beforehand was on December 24th, Ed was supposed to be transported back to the jail, but apparently the sheriff wanted to make sure the jail cells were empty for Christmas and sent a request to the state hospital asking if they could keep Ed a few more days, which they agreed to do.
Aw.
Hey,
What a dick.
he just wanted some time off, man.
I guess. On January 6th, 1958, Ed's trial would officially begin, and after it was all said and done, the judge would officially find him legally insane and recommit him back to the state hospital for an indeterminate amount of time. Now, after the verdict, the townspeople of Plainfield were outraged, and would even attempt to have the judge's decision overturned because most of them believed that Ed was not actually insane, but of course this didn't get any traction and didn't go anywhere. They scheduled an auction for March 30th, 1958 to sell off the Gein property and all of the items that were contained inside. Who'd want to buy this?
Look around today, Cody.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
In 58?
Okay, I don't know about 58. I'm sure there was nuthead true crime people in 58.
It just sounds like it was all junk. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, this pissed the townspeople of Plainfield off even more. Then on March 20th, 1958, the house mysteriously burned down. Now, because there was no electricity or any sort of wiring that could have started the fire, this was most likely arson. When they told Ed, this was his reply.
Just as well.
He never had any love for that house.
No, he's a man of very few words.
Yeah.
Years after Ed had been in the state hospital, the governor-elect John Reynolds, do you remember him, Jordan? When he was governor?
Yeah, dude,
Johnny
I
Reynolds?
totally do.
Would visit the hospital in regards to budgeting and ended up approaching a gray-haired man who was polishing costume jewelry. This man was Ed Gein, but the governor had no idea. He asked what he thought of the hospital, and Ed told him,
I'm happy here. It's a good place. Some of the people here are pretty disturbed, though.
Do you think he actually believed that, or do you think he was being sarcastic to him?
I don't know, because he's a funny motherfucker.
He's probably drugged up, though.
Ah, you're right. A lot of lithium and shit, probably. Ed was actually happy here. He was eating 3 meals a day. He seemed to find activities that he enjoyed.
Like polishing costume jewelry.
Yep.
Hey,
Oh,
whatever,
look at that sparkle.
whatever floats your boat, buddy. He spent his time reading and would occasionally speak to the staff that worked there or other patients at the hospital, but it seemed that Ed preferred to be a loner most of the time.
Sure.
Now, 10 years to the day, they decided that Ed was now sane and fit to stand trial for the murder once again.
That seems bullshit.
I don't remember this at all when I was reading. I was like, holy shit, why would they do
That
this?
seems fucking
Yeah.
bullshit. How can you overturn that shit?
I don't. Apparently, you can wait long enough for them to deem you sane again.
Okay,
And then
he did
retry
say
it.
indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until he's fit to stand trial.
So they went through the entire process again. That took almost a year. And when it finally ended, they ruled once again that he was insane and sent him back to the hospital. A complete waste of time and money for the state of Wisconsin.
Wow.
And it just seems like a cruel joke on Ed.
I'm just like, I don't know. He's not bothering anybody. He's literally just waiting to die in the hospital, more or less.
Yeah.
So, finally, on July 18th, 1984, Ed Gein was 78 years old, senile, and suffering from cancer when he would pass away from respiratory failure.
Aw.
One last interesting piece of information was in 1974, a man by the name of Purvis Smith was arrested for the murder of a 86-year-old woman named Helen Lowes. She had been bludgeoned to death, had her eyes removed, and had little slits on her head in an attempt to remove the skin from her face. The weird part was Purvis Smith was a resident at the state hospital and told the police that his best friend, little Eddie Gein, had told him all about making human face masks.
Oh.
So I was, do you think this guy's full of shit, or do you
Yes.
think Ed actually told him?
I don't know. I wish, but
Well,
I don't know.
It's crazy, though.
Yes,
Why would they
that's-
let it?
He's obviously, the record's there. He was at the hospital.
I mean, this guy could have just known about his crimes, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to try to be like him. I don't know.
Little Eddie.
Yeah, it's, so yeah, that's the conclusion of Ed Gein. Basically, I think, do you guys just think he was a schizophrenic guy and just,
I think it was a deeply troubled man.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think it was.
His mother died, and then he just snapped, or I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's right.
And I think there was probably a lot of, repressed, bottled up anger in him, too, at his mom.
Well, clearly, he wanted to be a girl. Like, he clearly wanted to be a girl, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure that's because his mom probably told him, I wish you were a girl.
Yeah. I didn't really include it in here, but you guys know he was known to literally get a can of beans, open it up, eat it out of the fucking metal or the tin can, just throw it on the ground. Like
Yeah.
that's how he lived.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's like smoking a cig down to the filter and just tossing it. That's fucking amazing.
You want to do that?
But with beans, yeah.
Would you like room temperature beans?
Absolutely.
I have to
It's
have them
better
hot.
than cold.
Bits of bacon.
Okay. I like them hot, though, or at least
yeah.
warm.
Nah, I want them cold, freezing.
You should do this, then.
I'm just
Hell
kidding.
Yeah.
What temperature do you like your beans? If you want to tell us, do so at bumblebuttpodcast@gmail.com.
What's that, Adam?
bumblebuttpodcast@gmail.com. As always, if you want to get a hold of us in other ways, we are on Twitter at bumblebuttpod and on Facebook and Instagram at bumblebuttpodcast. We also have personal Instagrams. Mine is at bumbleadam. Jordan's is at j.j.fox. And Cody's is at Cody'sAbub. Now, it's time for the most important part of the show. At least if you ask Cody, iTunes reviews.
We've actually gotten, I believe it's 2 more, but there's non-writtens, which is,
We got 2 non-writtens, though?
yeah,
2 extra? What are we at now?
97. We need
Wow,
3. We
wow,
need 3
wow.
more. 3 more. Come on, guys.
Get us 3 more, please.
Then
Tell
we-
your friends.
we need-
Steal their iPhones. Write us reviews.
Yeah.
You
did-
heeded my warning last week.
It's easy, baby. Thank you so much for the 2 extras. Goddamn, Cody. Good job on the story, of course.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in.
Oh, yeah.
I've been Adam. That's been Jordan. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, Adam.
And Cody, thank you, Cody.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, everybody. You know what I want you to do, don't you? I want you to have a nice weekend. Unless it's Tuesday.
We're so